Good afternoon and welcome to another edition of African Americans Ain't Africans, the talk show that proves without a shadow of a doubt that the so-called African American didn't find his way to America in the trunk of a ship. I'm your host, the indigenous one. Okay, so all the noise is down. So we're gonna get into it today. We have Deborah, Oklahoma here, and she's gonna talk to us about the convergence. I'm gonna sit back and mostly listen and come back with questions, questions that come from you guys in the chat. So Deborah, take it away.
Halita, everyone. It's been a while. It's so good to be back here. It really is. I missed you, Mr. Indigenous One, and I missed all your people. And I have to say, I have been quiet. One of the reasons I've been quiet is because there was so much noise out there. No matter how much I, went to the universe, it was hard for me to quiet the noise. That shouldn't be, but being an empath, I feel others' emotions. And so I started to feel other people's emotions. I started to get sad a lot. In fact, yesterday, I was really, really sad about something that the universe showed me that's coming in the future. Hey, family. Hey, Akia, woolly hair. And I think that we'll talk about that at the end. So you have to kind of remind me. But first of all, we're going to talk about this convergence. And the convergence is something that happened on December 21st, 2020. Here's the thing. Okay, so here I got down a little sample, and I'm kind of going to go into it. Under the Gregorian calendar, it was on December 21st. We've had them several times before. Well, many, many times before, actually. And this is when Saturn and Jupiter aligns, and they do this every 20 years. And they either conjoin or they oppose each other. And that's when they actually come together to travel with each other. And right now they are joined together. This is good for us. It really is. First of all, let me start with this, because all this is going to lead to somewhere. One of the main things that I was concerned with is that we didn't hear very much about it in mainstream media. I think one of the reasons we didn't hear about it in mainstream media is because they knew that this is a time that our DNA is responding to the universe, and the universe is bringing us into our power. Thank you, Copper Color. It's good to be here. Here's the bad part about it. The other noise was coming from mystics. And some of these people who I call mystics, or they are mystics, some of them are actually a bloodline of the mystics, and some of them are our people who have gotten into mysticism. And so they're doing things like, oh, our superpowers are coming. We're going to be able to fly. I've heard people say things like, man, you're going to be bulletproof. And I'm like, okay, well, I don't think you should go out there and test it. But if you really feel that strong about it, you let me know how that turns out. And a bunch of them talking about how they're going to fly. I'm like, until you know what your real powers are, who you are, you don't even know who you are yet. You just found out that you're American Indian. You don't even know what that means yet, but yet you're ready to fly. You're going to fly your ass right into a tree, and you don't even know why. So fine, okay, if you really think that this is what this is about. So out of all of this noise, I was able to go to the universe, and I said, universe, you tell me, what is this convergence and what does it mean to us? Is it really about superpowers? Because if it is, I want to know. And actually, I couldn't hear. I'm going to tell you why. One of the reasons I couldn't hear, I got invited to Bobby Emmett's group. And on his group, we got a lot of mystics. They're selling magic wands, tarot readings, witchcraft, magic potions. And a lot of this comes by way of Columbus, because Columbus was definitely a mystic. He's a bloodline of the mystics. So finally, I heard from the universe. And this is what she said to me. She said, you're gaining your DNA memory, and that started with Chiron. But what's really going to happen is that the spell is going to be lifted. We've been under a spell for a long, long time, for several thousand years. Now, how do we get under this spell? We got under this spell because as Aboriginal people, there's something that happens to us naturally in our sequence of 9, our cycle of 9. Is that on the before we reset, we have a resting period. And for a long time, we were thinking, oh, these people put us to sleep. No, they don't have the power to put us to sleep, but we do rest. And after the rest, there is a reset, and we're going into the reset. This is where now we're going to start getting knowledge about who we are. One of the things that's going to happen, I wrote a lot of this down so I can go through it point by point. A lot of what we do now, as far as becoming the Indian, because people say we're very spiritual, but actually what we are is universal, more than spiritual. So a lot of things we do now are based on the mystics, because that's who's been controlling our world, or this world that they created. So a lot of what we do is based on the Siberian, or those AKA people called the Native Americans, and their cultural, they are a cultural amalgamation of races. So most of the people that they're aligned with, their bloodline is aligned with mystics. So one of the things we've got to realize in this convergence is that we're going to start coming out of mysticism. And here's what happens. Here's what mysticism is. Under the Gregorian calendar, December 23rd, Saturn and Jupiter come together. I think there's an echo. I'm not sure.
No, you cool. You cool on this side.
Cool on that side. Okay. They begin a journey together. We're on that journey. Why are we on that journey? Because we are Aboriginal people. We are the universe. Every part of the universe is us. I teach this. We are star seeds. We were planted in here from the universe. So everything that happens in the universe happens to us. They killed many of us off. So in this point where we're coming to zero, if you do the research, you will find that the universe is making more stars. So there's a time when there's going to be a replanting of new people. We're going to start mating with each other again. We're going to start having children again. We're going to start filling the earth, refilling the earth again with our people. See, now you understand why the Democratic Party wants you to take this vaccine, because they know we're about to explode in number. But if you take the vaccine, you're probably going to become sterilized along with a lot of other things. So whatever you do not take this vaccine. They know we're about to rise. The traits of Saturn is stingy, rigid, stubborn, scheming, antisocial. The traits of Jupiter are also that for personal growth, expansion into the social arena. Jupiter represents ideals and your goals. Now, this is under the Gregorian calendar. So in our prehistoric world, and when I use the term prehistory, I'm talking about the time before we encountered mystics. 7,000 years ago, during a convergence, that is when the Anglo-Saxon appeared on our planet. Who is an Anglo-Saxon? Donald Trump is an Anglo-Saxon. An Anglo-Saxon, you can usually know them because they're naturally blonde and naturally blue-eyed. Science has proven about 7,000 to 10,000 years ago, the very first blue-eyed man appeared on the planet at the Black Sea, and every blue-eyed person comes from that male. Notice, comes from a man, not from a womb. That's important.
So is that the biblical story of Adam and Eve? Because Adam was created by two males. So
I believe, I really think so. I think so. But it gets even deeper than that, because 6,000 years ago, which is 1,000 years later, this is when the mystics appeared on the planet. And those are the Jews. So somehow, see, the Jews is also an amalgamation of races. So it could possibly be, and notice when I say what's possible, because I haven't done enough research to know the entire truth, but it could be that because we made it with the Anglo-Saxon and there was so much going on that they could have come from us, but I don't think so, because in some of my research, I'm realizing there is a race of people on this planet that look like us that is not us, and they are the true Africans. As a matter of fact, when you look at them, you can tell right away, oh, they're from Africa, because they don't look like the Aboriginal people of Africa, just like they don't look like the Aboriginal people of this continent. And as a matter of fact, I've said that so many times that I can't figure out where this African comes from. One of your people who watched the show emailed me and said, "Mama Deborah, I'm going to tell you where they came from." She gave me this whole list, and she explained to me that this particular African that I'm talking about is actually the genetic stock for all the other races other than the Anglo-Saxons. So that may very well be true. There's a lot of stuff going on this planet that we don't know about anymore, simply because we are now what they're called waking up, but I'll call it rising, because we are now rising up and looking at our planet from this natural sleep and saying, what the fuck is going on? We're realizing that our planet is in chaos, and during our sleep there's been some people who have actually been destroying or trying to destroy our home. So in that, they knew we were going to wake up. They knew that we were going to get up, and they knew that they had to do something quick. And so now they're in a fight over what is to be done about the Aboriginal people, not just on this continent, but we are rising. What's left of us is rising all over the planet. We are coming into our own. There we will be gaining power. I can't tell you what kind of power it is. But I know we will be gaining our power. Now, 6,000 years ago, during the Convergence, where the mystics appeared on the planet, they began to introduce a matrix on this planet of disorder. That is their old world. It is an artificial code, an artificial world. You can look up the Zohar. That's the foundational work of the Jews. Jews are the most mystical people on the planet. You don't know very much about them. They rule in secrets. They rule in the shadows. They created this world of mysticism, and a lot of it comes from the Jews from Spain. So that would explain why Columbus had to come to our planet. That's number one. He's a Jew. Columbus is a Jew. He brought mysticism, and the first thing he did on this planet, if you watched or listened to any of the other videos or have come to any of the classes, you'll know that the first thing he did when he came to this continent was a ritual. And in that ritual, we've been operating under it for a very long, long time. The other one is Darwin. Hold on. Okay, sorry about that. My daughter has come to live with me from California, and she brought her doggy. um, Darwin, who's also a Jew, was among the many scientists, and he was of the Society of Evolution. Evolution is also mysticism. It's of superstition. It's about theory. Theory is a part of that mystical society. And here's the thing: faith and belief is also a huge part, and spirituality is a huge part of mysticism. So what did they do?
So exactly what exactly is faith and belief? Because those are two words or two concepts that we talk about, that we know all about. Jesus is gone. You talk these words, but the shit never happens. Why? Why is that? I mean, in the faith and belief aspect of it.
Are you asking me why do we believe?
No, I'm saying faith and belief is a big part of our lives.
It is. It is, because we're under mysticism.
Okay.
We're under mysticism. That's the age that we're coming out of. We're going into the age of knowledge. That's what Aquarius is.
Okay.
And I am going to get to that. That's a real good question. So we have been under the age of belief. In other words, there's nothing, they taught us that there's nothing inside of us that could save us. Everything that we must look for is on the outside of who we are. Spirituality. We must look for an inner thing inside of us called a spirit that will help us and fix us. When in actuality, spirits are literally their own entity living in their own realm. Spirits are here like the rest of the universe. Everything in the universe was put there for our benefit, and so were spirits. But what they've done is they put us in a position, or we've allowed them to put us in a position where, as under spirituality, we believe that in a Holy Spirit. And if you find that many Christians, they'll do the dumbest shit and then go pay someone like a preacher, believing that a Holy Spirit is going to help them clean up their shit, when basically they should stop shitting their own table, or at least learn how to clean it up themselves. But that's not the world we've been living in. In mysticism, you always look outside of yourself to be saved. You always look outside of yourself to eat. You always look outside of yourself for water. You always look outside of yourself for food. Who have we been dependent on all this time? The Democratic Party has set up the most mystic world there is. We depend on them to write programs for us. We depend on them to do everything for us. They are children of the mystics, period.
I hear you. I hear you. Makes sense to me. I mean, so see what you're saying, it explains everything that's going on. You know, because one of the things you hear, the black first, the people who call themselves black, they just paint themselves with a black paint brush everywhere they go. The Democrats Obama didn't do nothing for us. And then when you say, well, sir, what did you do for yourself?
They don't think like that, because they've been under the Columbus's ritual. And it's been very hard to get out of. It's taught in our schools. It's taught in the church. Actually, the Christianity plays a huge role in mysticism, a huge role. They brought in the age of belief and magic. There are the whole dynamic of the political system is magic. As a matter of fact, it got so interesting to me. When they were impeaching Donald Trump the first time, I kept thinking to myself, what is this thing that he's supposed to have done? And I looked it up, and you know what it's under? It's called an arcane law. An arcane law. When you go up and look arcanery, it means magic. When you look it up in Black's law, that means all the laws that have been made up by magic. And we're going to talk about this in when we do the second, third, and fourth part of this. This is just kind of setting you up for what's coming. And arcane magic has been in our political or their political system for a very, very long time. As a matter of fact, during the Black Plague, if you really delve into their political system, one of the things they said they would not do, they said, we will never let the Jews into our political system. Why? Because they had experienced their witchcraft and they didn't want to deal with it anymore. That is how so many people ended up dead during the Black Plague. That's another thing we'll talk about during the second part. So what did they do? They constructed a system of illusion, a belief system, a system of enslavement, a government of dependency, social and economic constraints, the age of inclusion. That's really important, because what that means in the age of inclusion is we're going to get them to mix with all the other amalgamated races and dilute them. That was their whole point of mixing with us. Not to be friends with us, not to love us, but to create a mixture and a more amalgamated people on the planet where hoping to dilute our powers when this time comes. Okay? Yeah, we got to leave tribe mixing alone. I've said this before. So now we're going to leave the Gregorian age and we're going to go into the age of the Aboriginal. That is us. And I'm going to explain what that is. The age of the Aboriginal is about nature, the opportunity to become grounded. That's extremely important in this convergence. The Mayans told us about this convergence, and it says, well, after 2012, nothing happened. And one of my friends said they didn't write anything after 2012 because they didn't know what was going to happen. And at first I thought that might be true, but as I researched, I realized they do know what is going to happen. You know what's going to happen? We're going to have to choose. And I pause because that's the biggest and most important thing here. We're going to have to choose whether we want to leave the third and fourth dimension and go into the fifth world.
So, okay, give us a little example of how that would happen. Let's use the COVID as an example.
Well, I mean, if you choose the vaccination, you can forget about going into the fifth world. You can just absolutely forget about that. Because what he's done, and we'll get into that, I'm going to show proof of that too. I've been saving videos. What he's done is he's taken, in that vaccination, there's a sequence that replaces a part of our or anyone's DNA. They know what they call junk DNA has activated. So they want to remove that sequence now, and they want to put in what they've sequenced. And under that, we're going to talk about what that is. So if you choose that vaccination, you can forget about going into the fifth world. In fact, I'm promoting this. I don't know if anyone else is, but as we move forward, if I know someone has taken the vaccination, I will not let them in my life. Simply because they're going to begin to mutate. They're going to begin to go into a whole nother morphism that I don't think we're going to be able to deal with. It's going to be ugly.
Motherfucker's going to turn into the fly.
Well, actually, here's what now this is just me speculating, and give me a little leeway. I know most of the time I come to you with what I know, but I'm gonna do a little speculating right now. And what I've learned, and we're going to talk about this too, there have been a number of people who have taken this vaccine who have really started morphing. They're not telling you that's what's happening to them. They're okay. I have my daughter here, and then my son has somebody putting in new furniture, new stove, and a bunch of new stuff. So you're going to hear that. I apologize.
We listening to you.
Oh, okay. So they're beginning to morph. This one lady, I thought it was a joke. She couldn't stop vibrating and shaking. I said, you have to do your own fact check. So I did the fact check and found out that the CDC and a bunch of other the WHO and the medical field said, well, we don't know why this is happening to her. We don't think it's the vaccine. We just think she's got a lot on her mind right now. And the problem isn't the vaccine and so on and so forth. This chick can't be still. She's literally morphine. So there's another young lady who they say died, but nobody can find her. Now, she's registered as have that she has actually had a funeral, but none of her friends know where she is. They weren't invited to her funeral. So everybody's going, where the fuck is she? I believe she's in some scientific, some place where they're helping her morph. I really do. And I think there's a lot of people who's doing that.
Yeah, because it's a trip to me, because and I talk to a lot of people from a lot of states, and all you hear is this COVID-19 is just rushing through everybody. Yet when you go by the hospitals, no one's there.
They're empty. I did that myself. I said, let me go see myself. So I went to one of the hospitals I usually go to because I have Crohn's disease. Whenever I've had a bout, I would go there. I don't do that anymore. Me and hospitals are done. And guess what? Damn near empty. I went to another one. This guy inboxed me and said, could you go and check and see if there are any 5G towers near the hospitals? Well, I went to go look and see, but when I went into the hospitals, it was normal.
Okay, so okay, so here's another point. So when you talk about this convergence happening, could that be part of the convergence? People are starting to really open up and see that these hospitals are really not a place where people should be. Could that be a part of it?
Yeah, I think that a lot of us, because we are arising out of our sleep, we're beginning to see that most everything that they have put in place for us is either bringing us into a slow death or some sort of strange morph, or they're testing something on us. They're doing something really, really strange. So people are starting, actually, when you look at the real research, you will find that they're saying, oh, Black people are really wanting it. No, we don't. They're upset because a lot of people have said, we don't want it.
Right.
There are people who are saying, I'll take the COVID and live through that first. Because what they're not telling you is the majority of people who actually get COVID recover. They really recover. There's only a few people who are dying. In fact, and we're going to talk about this. We're going to talk about the percentage of people that have died. And the larger percentage of the people who have died from COVID died from an underlying disease, not COVID. And they're not telling you that because they want you to take the vaccine. So we're gonna get into that. So getting back to the Mayans calendar, which in March is our new year. So that's when we're gonna celebrate, and our ritual team is actually going to celebrate bringing in the new year in March 2013. And now everybody is saying that is when former President Trump is going to rise to power again as the 19th president of the United States, March 4th.
See, that's what I'm talking about. See, that's what I'm talking about. See, we get caught up in these stories and, motherfucker, what are you talking about? You're still under the same system that makes billions of money off of your ass.
Right.
And you think they're going to change? I mean, and we just go with these stories and we share them and we talk. Oh man, and that's what pisses me off about us. God damn, you can't even never come up with a program for yourself. All you do is take information given to you from other people and spread it spread it to the other people who don't think. It blows me away.
Right. So this is why I'm going to talk about the Mayan calendar, the traits of Saturn and the traits of Jupiter according to the Mayan people. And that's important to me because being a Choctaw and also come from the Naniwaya mounds, and that is also part of the bloodline of the Mayans. Here's their take on the traits of what they call Saturn. If you look at it differently than what the mystics say, you will see Saturn as conservative, not stingy, a wall of strength, stubborn, a planner, a separatist at best. That's really important because it's time for us to separate from those sons of bitches. It's time for us to separate from the mystics, people. I'm wondering how many of you can do it. How many of you can, because some of us are so entwined with the mystics. We're married to them. We fuck them. We have children by them. I don't know if you saw that other video that had a bunch of don'ts.
I know I didn't.
Yeah, you did. I played it on your show. It said, Don't screw them. Don't fuck them. Our ancestors warned us. Don't let them in your gates. Don't have children by them. Don't eat with them. Don't sleep with them. If you can avoid them at all costs, period. What are we doing? Fucking them. Having babies by them. Hey, we can't go to a store unless we're in one of the mystic stores. They feed us. They treat us like shit. We vote for them. We love them. We love their broken cisterns. Now they want to put a cloud in the sky so they can tell us how much sun we can get and how much air we can fucking breathe. We did that because we were disobedient.
Okay, so since we did that, since we were part of making it happen, since we were complicit into that,
yeah,
what's going to be our reward for that?
Our reward? Surely
you know what I mean.
Okay, yeah, reward. Oh well, we're reaping what we sow right now. We are, and it's sad because there's a God that I counsel right now who has been saying my mom and pops want to take the vaccine. You know, that's the benefits of going to church, where your pastor tells you what's right. That's how we've reaped the benefits. The traits of Jupiter. Let's look at that under the Mayan calendar. It's a time of personal growth, but also communal growth, right? So in other words, not only are we going to grow, but we're going to have to turn around and become unified. If we don't unify, I don't care how much we grow, we're all staying in the fucking third and fourth dimension.
Makes sense.
I really want you guys to get this. I really do. Renee, I feel you. I have people who are very, very close to me that I constantly talk to. And it's very difficult. It's very difficult because they are so entrenched in the world. And in some cases, I find myself a little guilty because, you know, I played a part in helping them become entrenched in the world. So, you know, I just go to the universe. That's what I do. I go to the universe. I do rituals for some of them. That's why my daughter is here right now. She came out. She made a choice and said, I'm out. I'm going where I'm supposed to be. It can happen. Because I was feeling really guilty about some of the choices that my daughter was making, simply because I was the one who raised her to make those choices. And now she's going to the universe. I've done rituals for her, and to see her here with me, even though her dog is can be little Pickles, can be annoying. I'm really glad they're here.
That's his name, Pickles?
Pickles. Yeah.
You bring a dog to the house, and now I gotta call this motherfucker Pickles?
I love Pickles. So
I know one question before you go on.
Yeah.
You know, this is tapping on what you just said. I'm in conversation with a young lady now, and she says the same thing that you were just bringing up. She said she's made terrible mistakes in her lives, and it passed on through her children, and she feels an overwhelming amount of guilt. And I try to tell her, okay, you know, that's done. You have to move forward. But now she's saying her kids are like, what are you tripping off of? You told us to do this shit.
That's right.
And she feels horrible. What should I tell her?
Well, I can only tell you what I did. And I have a friend who's probably watching this show who calls me a lot, and they can tell you which one of my children that I have the problem with the most. Grown man, love him, takes care of me. Great. I mean, I want for nothing in his house, but our relationship is so terrible. Simply because we don't think the same. And he'll say to me, you, this is your fault. And I used to feel so guilty. But then I'm going to tell you what the universe, we did a ritual in October. And in this ritual, and I hope this helps you, person, in this ritual, I chose 4 certain herbs, and I chose those herbs for that time, for what the ritual was for. Every last one of us, after the very first ritual, I think this ritual went on for three consecutive times. After the first one, I had this emotional change in me. And I went to call one of the ritual people to tell her how emotionally I was, and I was in tears. And when I called her, she answered the phone in tears, saying, I don't know what's going on. I've got to make some changes. And then I called my daughter, which she was also a part of the ritual. She was in tears. I mean, just about everyone who experienced this ritual had a change. You know what the change was? In us. I say that over and over again. It's us that has to change. So what did I do? I had to go to my son, and I said to him, but the universe told me to say, I'm sorry that I made you angry at me. I'm sorry for the things I taught you I'm sorry. And there was a list of things. And he began to change. But guess what else happened? The universe said, he grown now. He on his own. Move forward.
Mm-hmm.
You see?
Yeah. That's kind of what I told her anyway. I'm like, I mean, you didn't know you was taught the same shit by your moms and dad. They didn't know. I mean, this is a system that we live in.
Yeah. My children are grown, and I'm watching them both change. I believe they're both coming in, but it's not something that I can make happen.
Right.
I can't live. If I live in guilt, guilt is a part of mysticism. Get out of it. That's what I mean by some of us may not make it because we're not realizing that our emotions open and closes dimensions. If you're still in that emotion of guilt, you are still you're allowing your emotions to be controlled by mysticism.
Right.
Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna go on. Here's what we have to do. Even though we still function in many ways physically under the Gregorian calendar, which is 2021, we're going into 2013. We need to understand that that's what we're going to have to operate under 2013. And I'm going to talk about that in one of the next meetings. Like, for example, they have 30 days, half September, April, June, and November, blah, blah, blah. You know what? We're on a 28-day cycle, period. We don't have a 7-day week. We have a 9-day week and then 0. So here's how it works for us. And this is just a sample. On the first day of the first month and the first week, see, that's 3. 3 is important because that's the number for the womb. That's the number for rising, or as they call resurrection. And then on the first month, there's the first month, or you could say the second day of the first week of the first month. Then there's the third day of the second week of the first month. See, we're a people who are in code. These numbers matter. And we're going to talk about that too in the future. So that's what we need to do. We need to understand that we're under 2013 and not 2021. The Mayans are bringing us into this convergence is bringing us into the age of universal earth and blood. Blood for us is different than blood for the mystics because they're into shedding blood. We're into creating a bloodline. We unify consciousness in our bloodline. Okay, so that's where we are right now. It's going to be a whole bunch of us, hopefully. This is a time in dismissing and tearing down the old world mystics. We have to return to the permanent world of, and Donald Trump talked about this. See, he knows who we are. Law and order. Do anybody remember him talking about that? Well, I'm going to talk about it. We have the universal laws, and the universe is our order. Period. That's how we're going to get grounded. Our laws are important. Our universal laws. One of the main laws that we have is we should never dilute our bloodline. Ever. Yep. Let me see. Return of the permanent world, law and order. Yes, we must return to our own laws. Now, here's where we're going into. We haven't quite made it yet. We're not quite in 2013 yet. We're going into the age of knowledge. We're coming out of the age of belief and prayer.
Is that why? Because this is something that everybody knows. You don't hear the church nowhere.
People are coming out of the church, which is why they want to bring in this fake Messiah. We'll talk about that, though. We're going to talk about that. People are coming out of mysticism. They're realizing it's almost like a natural return, and that's one of the things that I've been talking about lately is the ritual of return. We're going into the age of reality and actuality. Consciousness, not spirituality. The age of independence. We're going to break away from the mystics. The age of freedom. The age of breaking constraints. The 13th Amendment was created as for the age of dependence and constraints. This will remain in the third world, in the third dimension. Constraints will remain there. We have to want to break free from that. It's going to be a lot of people who is not going to want to break free because we become lazy. We want to be spoon-fed. You need to think about if you're one of those people. If you can't give up your car when the time comes, you want to be spoon-fed. And I'm like everybody else, you know. I gotta pay light bills. I gotta pay gas bills. But we should be working to come out of it, not working to stay in it. And this is one of the main reasons I've said we really got to get our own land. In our group, our council, one of the things we want to do to help the community on our lands is to build a healing center, maybe with like 10, 20 acres. If someone gets ill, they can come there and receive Aboriginal treatment.
You know what? That's a cold idea.
And that's what we're working at. That's what we're working towards. You know, and we know that there are other people working towards other things, and we're all gonna play with this. We're gonna be like this. You have said so many times, we need hands. I know in one of the things that Blue Feather is doing is they're building a community for our people to live. You know, time out for the people who have land. They want to hold it close to their breath and put it inside the pussy. What you want to do is get our people on these lands. We need to start working for each other. We need to start putting hands on our land. We need to start saying, hey, for example, what if somebody had 20 acres with Aboriginal people on it, and somebody else said, we need 20 people to come here to raise a barn. You got 20 people and put them over there on that land to raise a barn. What do you get in return? Which is what we're also trying to do, is build a bank of people. In return, you owe that person 20 hours. So that person says, well, we came onto your your land, and we helped you. We've got some people who need healing. Bring them to the center. It's free of charge. You know why? Because you helped us. We helped you. We need chickens. Okay, we got somebody over there that needs chickens. I know this is oversimplifying it, but you have to remember that's how we lived before Columbus brought the monetary system.
It was, we did so much that it was an overabundance. Nobody went without. Yeah. And it's like you said about the land. I know Negroes with 400 acres. They have to themselves. Yep. And like you say, it's mine, it's mine. Mm-hmm. I can't wait. Because all these Negroes got all these resources, but they won't share.
Won't share. That's what I mean by it's a time of unity. And if we don't unify, we're going to always be in pharmaceutical witchcraft, taking vaccinations, having people to put out, they're going to put out all these diseases and then give you a fucking, it might be a cure or it might not. I mean, do we want to really continue to live like this, really?
I think the African American is very comfortable, because going from Black people to African American, going from Negro to Black people to African American, going from colored people to Negro to African American, there was changes made to the people. And you can see how far they devolved just from the early 1900s.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's what we have now. And what we have now is a bunch of arrogant dumbasses that, I mean, damn. So now what Bobby Wright was saying about menticide, you see it. I mean, you got Negroes having parties because Kamala Harris is their vice president now.
Yep.
Huh?
And if you notice, Kamala Harris brought in a bunch of not American Indians to work with her, not African Americans. She went back to her homeland and brought her own chicks with her. But yet, she says she one of us. Everybody's one of us when they want us to vote.
So is it to vote, or is it to put that emotional energy behind them?
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Because
yes and yes. Both.
Yeah.
Both.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and let me tell you, when you talk about I'm so glad you said that. They're constantly doing rituals. Somebody texted me Joe Biden's mantra, and we have some powerful mantras. We have some powerful mantras, and this chick told me about a mantra. I don't think she knew it was a mantra, but Joe Biden said he will move heaven and hell. That was the first part of his mantra, to make sure that every American, second part of his mantra, will be able to have the vaccination. Third part of his mantra, to get the vaccination. Fourth part of his mantra, to receive the vaccination from multiple places. Another part of his mantra. And it goes on and on. See, if you understand what a mantra is, and Gail Walker does, because she's part of our ritual team. And I know she's laughing because she knows what a mantra is. And we're constantly up under their mantras. And then we go back and repeat it because that's what they know we're going to do. And the universe says, is that what you want, Aboriginal? Because, see, he can't make me do it. You can make me do it. That's real. That's something we got to understand. No matter what they say, if we don't repeat it, if we don't walk on it, that shit dies. Their words don't perform for the universe. Our words perform. They do flips and jump up and down, and our words, they tiptoe all around the universe and go, hey, there's the slot for vaccinations. They want it, let them have it. That's exactly what happens. Believe it. Because that's how it happens. I know I don't have but a few more minutes, so I'm going to go fast. We're in the age of breaking constraints, the age of lifting and destroying and destroying the veil of illusion. This is the time when clarity will be right before us. Will we see it? We're in the age of separation. This is the time when we should begin to separate. Something Gail said to me, that you have, the lady that you have put up, something Gail said to me, she said, my God, they told us to separate. What do they call it? When we have to be in our houses, what do they call that? I can't think of what they call it. With the masks.
Don't repeat it. we all know.
She said they don't even know.
Or whatever. Punishment, go stand in the corner, whatever that shit is.
Social distancing. She was like, them. That's what we're supposed to be doing. Yeah, we should be socially distancing ourselves from them. That's exactly what we're supposed to be doing.
So clear to the ear, it is sometimes seen.
It is. So that's what I mean by it. Is that clear? Did we see it? Did we see it? Did we hear it? Yes, we should be socially distancing from them in every way that we possibly can. And we should not do any more mixing. That's the other thing. So we are in the beginning of a cycle. What is happening with Jupiter and Saturn? They have come together to take a trip, and they're taking us with them because we are the universe. And we're on that cycle with them. This is a cycle of newness, just like if it was, when you do a ritual for a new moon or a sun ritual, this is the time to come together and say, okay, we are now going to begin the cycle of coming out. Then there's going to be a time of the cycle when we're going to go in, but we're going to either go into where we belong, which is in our own cycle, in our own world, or we're going to go back into the old world that they created for us. This month, I don't know if any of you ever came to, I know some of your people did. They came to the Chiron in the fifth world, the classes that I gave for Chiron in the sixth world, and it talked about how our DNA memory is what was opening up, because Chiron actually plays a huge part in bringing our DNA memory and activating it. But I talked about how we have so much. There's some things that we have to do. We have to take responsibility for that. Well, I think it's Jupiter. Saturn is going to move into Chiron this month, and that may already have been happening. So our DNA memory is going to open up even more. It's going to activate even more. So not only are we going to be able to come into knowledge of who we are as Aboriginals, we're going to start coming into the knowledge of who we are as a collective. We're going to start coming into the knowledge of who we are. And check this out. And I'm getting ready to put up a lecture about this, because Seven God, I want to tell you something. We're not gods. That's a sore spot for a lot of us, because we're the gods and we're the goddesses. No, we're not. I'm going to tell you why. In this class, you're going to learn the definition of a god. That's not you. You're going to learn the definition of, what is it called? You're going to learn these three things if you come to the class. An Aboriginal is we're going to learn about your true wild nature, your undomesticated nature, because we are domesticated, utilizing our emotions as tools. Here's the real important part. You're going to learn that you're time immemorial. And if you don't believe me, they have it in their documents about us, that we're time immemorial. You know what that means? They can't find a beginning where we came here or an end of when we'll leave here.
Deborah, can you give the information for your classes, because we only got a minute left?
Okay. You can call me at 734-743-1708.
One more time.
734-743-1708.
One more time.
734-743-1708.
Take us out.
And I'm going to say this real quick. If you're time immemorial, you can't be Alpha. That's the beginning. You can't be Omega, because it has an end. That's it.
Thanks, Deborah. When you coming back to finish it up?
Well, we'll talk about it whenever you have me.
Okay, love. Hey, listen, you guys. We were down. We didn't come back because there's a whole bunch of noise going on about that about who gonna be your daddy, Trump or Biden. And Biden, goddamn, y'all really? That's what y'all into? Because I know a lot of you guys are into this voting shit. But pay attention to what's happening, because it's right, like she said, all this shit is right in your face. Thank you guys for hanging with us, and we'll see you real soon.